There's a quiet magic in the pages of an ancient book, the kind that whispers secrets from ages long past, where legends breathe and forgotten treasures lie hidden. Picture this, a lone scholar, bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, his fingers trembling as they trace the delicate ink of a map, so old it feels alive. This is Elenion, a seeker of truths, lost in the hushed halls of Rivendell's library, where every parchment holds a story, and every story holds a power beyond imagining. His quest, to uncover the mysteries of Middle-earth's most enchanted artifacts, objects, woven with magic so profound they've shaped the fate of kingdoms. And tonight, you're joining him on this journey. We'd love to know where you're listening from, what corner of the world you've curled up in as we step into this realm of wonder. Let us know in the comments below and tell us, what time does your adventure into Middle-earth secrets begin? The air in Rivendell is thick with the scent of aged paper and the faint echo of elven songs, a reminder that some truths are guarded by more than just locks and stone. Elenion's heart races as he studies the map leading to the lost Silmarils, those radiant jewels forged in the fires of divine light, stolen, scattered, and now sought by forces both dark and desperate. Their legend is a tapestry of glory and sorrow, of battles fought not just with swords, but with the very fabric of destiny, and yet they're only the beginning. Middle-earth is a treasure trove of artifacts, each with a story, each with a power that could unravel or redeem the world. The One Ring, the palantíri, the Arkenstone objects that have ignited wars, toppled kings, and whispered promises too tempting to ignore. What makes these artifacts so captivating isn't just their power, but the way they mirror our own deepest yearnings, for knowledge, for control, for a connection to something greater than ourselves. Tonight, we'll wander through the shadows of forgotten lore, uncovering the secrets of these legendary objects and the hands that wielded them. From the glittering halls of Erebor to the darkened corners of Mordor, we'll trace their paths, their curses, and the echoes they've left behind. So settle in, let the candlelight flicker around you, and prepare to lose yourself in the most enchanting and powerful artifacts of Tolkien's world. The journey begins now. The ruins of Gondolin rise like broken teeth against the twilight, their once gleaming towers now skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. Elenion's boots crunch over shattered marble as he steps into the hall where Glamdring, the faux hammer, once lay gleaming in its majesty. The air hums with echoes of a lost kingdom, whispers of Turgon's reign, of elves who walked these halls with swords as bright as their hope. His fingers brush the carvings along the walls, their symbols worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. They tell of the sword's forging, of its hunger for dark blood, and of the terrible price paid when it was torn from its rightful place. But the carvings hold another secret, one that prickles the back of his neck, a warning half hidden beneath layers of grime. Then, a sound, the scuff of a boot, the rasp of steel against stone. Elenion freezes. The orcs have come, their yellowed eyes gleaming with greed. They've heard the rumors too, tasted the promise of power coiled within these ruins. He counts 6, maybe 7, their crude weapons already drawn. His heart hammers, but his mind is clear. Flight would mean leaving Glamdring's secrets buried, and worse, letting these scavengers pillage what little remains of Gondolin's glory. So he plants his feet, his voice steady as he recites an old verse, one etched into the stones beneath him. The ruins answer. A tremor shakes the ground as hidden mechanisms, dormant for ages, grown to life. A pillar collapses, crushing 2 orcs beneath its weight. A section of the floor gives way, swallowing another. Elenion dances through the chaos, his movements precise. His knowledge of Gondolin's defenses his only shield. But battle is never clean. A jagged blade finds his side, and pain blooms like fire. He stumbles, gasping, yet manages to drive his dagger into the last orc's throat before the creature can strike again. Silence falls, broken only by his ragged breathing. Blood soaks his tunic, but the wound is shallow, a reminder, not an end. As he binds it with a strip of cloth, his gaze drifts back to the carvings. They seem to pulse with meaning now, their warning clearer than ever. Some treasures are guarded not just by stone, but by blood and sacrifice. The sword is gone, but its legacy remains, a thread woven into the tapestry of Middle-earth's darkest and brightest hours. And Elenion knows this is only the first trial. The road ahead is longer and far more perilous than he ever imagined. The golden leaves of Lothlórien shimmer like 1,000 tiny mirrors, catching the last light of dusk as Elenion kneels before Galadriel. Her presence is both comfort and warning, an ancient power wrapped in the gentlest of voices. You seek answers, she murmurs, her eyes reflecting depths no mortal could fathom. But remember, even the purest quest can falter when shadowed by desire. The air hums with the weight of her words, and for the first time, doubt creeps into Elenion's thoughts. The One Ring may have been destroyed, yet its echo lingers, a whisper in the hearts of those who dare to chase power. She offers him a vial, its surface swirling with liquid starlight water from her mirror, capable of unveiling truths too dangerous to ignore. As he peers into its depths, the world around him dissolves. Visions surge forth, the Arkenstone, radiant as captured sunlight, pulsing beneath the lonely mountain like a sleeping dragon's heart. Its beauty is intoxicating, but beneath the gleam lies something darker. The clatter of swords, the roar of betrayal, Thorin's madness, twisting his noble heart into something unrecognizable. Elenion gasps, wrenching his gaze away, but the stone's pull lingers like a hook in his chest. Galadriel's hand rests on his shoulder, cool as morning mist. You see now, she says softly, even the fairest of treasures can become chains. The lesson is clear. The Arkenstone is more than a jewel, it's a test. A symbol of how glory and greed walk hand in hand, how kingdoms rise and crumble on the back of such desires. Elenion's fingers tighten around the vial, its weight suddenly unbearable. He came seeking guidance, but the truth is sharper than he expected. As he steps onto the silver bridge, leading away from Galadriel, the forest seems to sigh around him. The path ahead is no longer just a search for artifacts. It's a reckoning. Every relic he pursues carries a choice, to wield or to resist, to master or be mastered. And with each step, the Arkenstone's ghostly glow flickers in his mind, a siren song he must learn to silence. The mountain wind howls through the narrow pass, biting at Elenion's cloak as he trudges toward Erebor's shadow. The road is littered with broken shields and rusted arrowheads, remnants of battles fought over the very treasure he seeks. It's here, amid the bones of fallen warriors, that he first hears the rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil. Behind a jagged outcrop, A dwarf named Thrain labors over a forge, fueled by desperation more than coal. His hands are calloused, his beard singed at the edges, but his eyes, sharp as the axe at his belt, lock onto Elenion with unsettling intensity. "You're no miner," Thrain grunts, wiping soot from his brow, "but you've got the look of a man hunting something brighter than gold." The Arkenstone's name hangs between them, unspoken yet deafening. Thrain leans in, his voice dropping to a gravelly whisper. He claims to know a secret path into the mountain's heart, a way past the dragon's old traps and the greed of those who guard the stone now. But his words slither with ambition. Every sentence is laced with visions of restored glory, of halls rebuilt with the Arkenstone's radiance as their centerpiece. Elenion's fingers tighten around his journal, its pages filled with warnings from Lothlórien. This isn't just a partnership, it's a test. That night, huddled under a lean-to as the fire sputters, Thrain's true colors flicker in the flames. He talks of tunnels and timing, of diverting guards and disguising their theft as salvage. "No one needs to know," he insists, tossing a pouch of coins onto the ground, bribes already gathered. The coins gleam like accusation. Elenion's stomach knots. This isn't study, it's plunder. Yet turning away means losing his only guide into Erebor's depths, and worse, leaving the stone to someone whose hunger might doom them all. Dawn breaks with a decision made. Elenion nods to Thrain, masking his unease with a scholar's calm. But as they pack their supplies, he slips an extra dagger into his boot. Trust, yes, but not blindness. The road ahead is paved with more than stone. It's lined with the ghosts of those who reached too greedily. And as Thrain hums an old dwarven war song under his breath, Elenion wonders which of them the mountain will judge more harshly. The chamber walls tremble as the Arkenstone's glow paints jagged shadows across the stone, a heartbeat of light in the mountain's belly. Thrain's breath hitches, his outstretched fingers trembling not from fear, but from the raw, unspoken hunger in his eyes. The moment his hand nears the stone, the air cracks like splitting rock. Ancient runes flare to life along the walls, and from the darkness, armored figures emerge, dwarven guardians, their hollow eyes burning with spectral fire. Elenion's shout is lost beneath the scrape of axes being unsheathed. He lunges, yanking Thrain back, just as a blade cleaves the space where his head had been. The Arkenstone's light gutters, as if snuffed by the violence, plunging them into near darkness. Thrain's gratitude lasts less than a breath. As the guardians advance, he shoves Elenion aside, his voice a snarl. "You fool, that was our only chance." Before Elenion can react, Thrain's fist slams into his ribs, sending him sprawling against the stone. The journal pages crammed with maps, warnings, Galadriel's whispers, is torn from his belt. Thrain vanishes into the tunnels, his laughter echoing like a curse. The guardians turn their hollow gaze on Elenion, their axes raised. No time to mourn the betrayal. He rolls, dodging the first strike, and scrambles toward a fissure in the wall, a crack just wide enough to squeeze through. The tunnels beyond are a maze of echoes and dripping water, each sound a potential threat. Elenion presses a hand to his throbbing side, his mind racing. Thrain's theft is a catastrophe, but worse is the realization the Arkenstone wasn't just hidden. It was waiting. Its light didn't fade. It retreated as if testing them, and Thrain, with his stolen knowledge, is now a beacon for every greedy soul in Erebor. Elenion's only advantage. He's the one who listened to Galadriel's warning. Some treasures aren't meant to be held. A distant horn blast shakes dust from the ceiling. The mountain's defenders are mobilizing, and Elenion's name will be on every tongue. He grits his teeth and breaks into a run, not toward escape, but deeper into the labyrinth. If Thrain wants to play thief, let him. Elenion will play scholar instead and uncover what the Arkenstone truly is. Not a prize, but a key, and keys can turn both ways. The salt-stained docks of the Grey Havens groan underfoot as Elenion stumbles ashore, his cloak heavy with rain and regret. The storm that chased him from Erebor still lingers in the bruised clouds overhead, as if the sky itself mourns the Arkenstone's fate. But grief is a luxury he can't afford, not when another artifact pulses with unspoken power, its secrets buried beneath the ruins of a fallen kingdom. Certain the shipwright waits beneath the arch of a weathered gazebo, his ageless eyes reflecting the flicker of distant lightning. You seek the palantíri, he murmurs, not as a question, but an acknowledgement of the burden Elenion carries. His voice is like the tide, slow and inevitable. Even among the treasures of Numenor, they were the most perilous, for what is clearer than sight, yet more easily twisted. The revelation comes with a price. One stone lies in Minas, the drowned city of kings, its towers now teeth in the lake's maw, but the ruins are not empty. Shadows walk there, spirits of those who peered too long into the Palantir's depths and lost themselves to its visions. Cerdin's hand grips Elenion's shoulder, the weight of centuries in his touch. They are not foes to fight, but warnings to heed. The stones show truth, but never kindness. For the first time since Lothlórien, Elenion hesitates. The Arkenstone's lesson still burns in his memory. Desire is a snare, and knowledge a double-edged blade. Yet the palantíri whisper to him in dreams, their promise of clarity, a siren song. What if they could reveal the fates of other lost artifacts? What if they could unravel the very tapestry of Middle-earth's history? The questions coil around his resolve, tightening like vines. Dawn finds him aboard a slender elven ship, its sails taut against the wind. The storm has not broken. It hangs at the horizon, a mirror to the turmoil in his chest. As the havens shrink behind him, Elenion traces the edge of Galadriel's vial, still tucked in his pouch. The liquid within swirls sluggishly, as if stirred by the ghosts ahead. He wonders what it will show him now, whether the wraiths of Minas are guardians or reflections, and whether the difference even matters. The Palantir's power is not in its stone, but in the hands that hold it. And as the first drops of rain strike the deck, Elenion steels himself for the hardest truth of all, that some answers change the seeker more than the sought. The water of Lake Evendim is black as ink, where the shattered ruins of Minas break the surface, their broken arches like the ribs of some drowned giant. Elenion's breath fogs in the air as he wades ashore, his boots sinking into silt that hasn't felt footsteps in centuries. The Palantir's call is louder here, not a voice, but a pressure, like hands pressing against his temples. He finds it nestled in the wreckage of a throne room, its smooth surface reflecting not his face, but a sky choked with smoke and the glint of a fiery eye. The moment his fingers brush the stone, the world dissolves. Flames surge around him, not as memory, but as something worse. a truth that never faded. Sauron's shadow stretches across Middle-earth, his will threading through the Palantir like poison through veins. Elenion sees the white tower burning, hears the screams of men turned to puppets by the stone's whispers. He tries to pull away, but the vision digs its hooks in deeper, showing him the faces of those who fell, kings with hollow eyes, stewards clawing at their own throats as the Dark Lord's laughter fills their minds. It's not just a warning, it's an invitation, a taste of the power he could wield if he'd only surrender to it. Then, a cold hand grips his shoulder. The spectral king stands beside him, his form flickering like a candle in the wind. You see what it offers, the ghost murmurs, his voice the creak of a ship's hull in deep water. But do you see the cost? The vision shifts again, showing the Palantir's shards washing ashore in distant lands. Each fragment a seed of corruption, each one a new thread for Sauron's will to cling to. The message is clear. Destruction isn't enough. The stone must be unmade. The wraiths arrive as the first shard cracks under Elenion's dagger. Their wail is the sound of wind through a graveyard, their forms swirling like mist-given teeth. He works faster, driving the blade into the stone again and again, even as their cold fingers rake his arms. The last shard falls just as the king's ghost throws himself between Elenion and the wraiths, his final act a silent roar that shakes the ruins. Then silence. The lake swallows the fragments, its dark waters closing over them like a fist. Elenion collapses onto the stones, his hands bleeding, his breath ragged. But amid the exhaustion, there's a grim certainty. The Palantir is gone, but its lesson lingers. Some artifacts aren't just dangerous, they're alive with purpose, hungry for the weak. As he staggers to his feet, the weight of the remaining relics settles onto his shoulders. The road ahead isn't just about uncovering secrets. It's about deciding which ones deserve to stay buried. The Tower of Orthanc looms against the storm-washed sky, its black stone slick with rain as Elenion approaches the gates of Isengard. Saruman's invitation had been elegant gilded parchment praising his scholarship, wax sealed with the white hand of wisdom. But the air here hums with something sharper than hospitality. The scent of forged smoke clings to the wind, and the ground trembles faintly beneath his boots, as if the earth itself recoils from what stirs in the depths of the wizard's domain. Saruman greets him in a hall of mirrors, each surface reflecting not the room, but fragments of Middle-earth's greatest relics. The Silmaril's light fractured into 1,000 shards, the Arkenstone pulsing like a trapped star. You've walked paths few dare to tread, the wizard murmurs, pouring wine as deep as blood. Such journeys deserve sharing among minds, unburdened by petty fears. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. They're fixed on Elenion's satchel, where Galadriel's vial rests beside his journal. The questions begin gently inquiries about Gondolin's ruins, the dwarves of Erebor, the drowned secrets of Minas. But by midnight, the veneer cracks. Saruman leans across the table, his voice dropping to a whisper that slithers like smoke. The Silmarils, you've seen their traces. Where do they sleep? The firelight catches the sweat on his brow, the tremor in his fingers as he speaks of their radiance, their purity. It's not study in his voice, it's starvation. Elenion keeps his tone light, his hands steady as he turns the conversation to dusty manuscripts and dead ends. But his pulse hammers. The mirrors around them flicker, showing not artifacts now, but armies thousands of Uruk, high-berthed in Isengard's pits, their blades glinting with the same hunger as their master's gaze. When the tower bell tolls the hour before dawn, he excuses himself, claiming exhaustion. Saruman's nod is too slow, his farewell too warm. The moment his chamber door closes, Elenion packs in silence, then slips through the window like a shadow. The rope burns his palms as he descends, but the pain is nothing compared to the chill in his chest. Even the white wizard has bent beneath the weight of his own thirst. The forest swallows him just as shouts erupt from Orthanc's heights. Elenion doesn't look back. Some lessons don't need words, just the image of Saruman's hands, curled like claws around an empty goblet, and the terrible understanding that no one, not even the wisest, is immune to the lure of power. The road ahead is darker now, but his steps are surer. If knowledge is a weapon, then so is knowing when to walk away. The thick canopy of Mirkwood swallows the sunlight whole, leaving only emerald-tinted shadows where Elenion picks his way through gnarled roots and cobwebs older than kingdoms. His boots sink into moss that muffles sound, but not scent. The air reeks of damp earth and something sharper, something alive. The Noglamir's legend led him here, whispered in the taverns of Dale by drunkards and scholars alike. A dwarven masterpiece, a jeweled collar fit for gods, lost when greed tore elves and dwarves apart. His fingers brush the hilt of his dagger as a twig snaps behind him. Not an animal, too precise. Legolas steps from the gloom like moonlight given form, his bow drawn, arrow aimed at Elenion's throat. "Turn back, wanderer," he says, voice colder than the forest's breath. Mirkwood guards its secrets and its curses. The tension between them crackles, thick as the webs strung between the trees. Elenion knows that look, the same mistrust he saw in Rivendell's librarians, in Thrain's calculating gaze. To Legolas, he's just another scavenger, hungry for relics like a crow for shiny trinkets. Then the spiders come. They descend on silken threads, their many-eyed faces twitching, mandibles dripping venom. Elenion barely dodges the first strike, but Legolas moves like wind through grass, loosing arrows that find their marks with deadly grace. One spider lunges, its legs slicing the air where Elenion stood a heartbeat before, only to crumple as an arrow sprouts from its skull. "Move," Legolas snarls, yanking him behind a fallen log. For all his disdain, the elf fights to protect, not just to dominate. The alliance is brittle, forged in venom and necessity. As they press deeper, Legolas' silence speaks louder than words. He watches Elenion's every step, every glance at the crumbling stone markers half buried in the undergrowth, signs of the old road where dwarves once marched to their doom. "You seek the necklace," Legolas finally mutters, kicking aside a skull still clad in rusted mail. "It will not bring back what was lost. Only blood follows its trail." Elenion wipes spider ichor from his sleeve. "I don't want to wear it. I want to understand it." The admission hangs between them, too honest for comfort. The Noglamir isn't just gold and gems. It's a covenant broken, a friendship shattered. Legolas hesitates, then nods once, sharp as a blade. The truce holds, but the forest tightens around them, its ancient heart pulsing with warnings neither can ignore. The ruins of Doriath breathe like a living thing, their shattered columns draped in ivy that shivers though no wind stirs. Elenion's fingers hover over the Noglamir's fractured clasp, gold twisted by ancient hands, still faintly humming with the echo of a Silmaril's light. The moment he touches it, the world fractures. Screams tear through the air, not from memory, but from the curse itself. Elven blades flash under a blood-red moon. Dwarven axes rise in retaliation, and the necklace burns against his skin like a brand. He's trapped in the kinslaying's nightmare, each heartbeat a pulse of betrayal and rage. The vision doesn't just show him history, it makes him live it. His hands are slick with gore he didn't spill, his throat raw with cries he didn't utter, and through the chaos, one image sears itself into his mind, a ship vanishing into the mist, its sails lit by the last Silmaril's glow as it flees to the sea's embrace. Legolas's arrow splits the vision like a knife through canvas. The elf grips Elenion's shoulder, his face pale with more than moonlight. "You were warned," he hisses, but his hands are gentle as he pulls Elenion back from the precipice of the curse. The enchantment shatters, but the cost is written in Legolas's tightened jaw, in the way his fingers tremble as he sheathes his blade. My father's magic was meant to protect, not to torture. But some wounds never heal. His gaze lingers on the Noglamir's twisted metal, its once gleaming surface now dull with tarnish and time. Silence stretches between them, thick with the weight of what Elenion's seen. Legolas turns first, his voice quiet but final. "The sea is not my domain, nor should it be yours. The words aren't cruel, they are a mercy, a reminder that some quests drown those who chase them." As Legolas melts back into the trees, Elenion is left with the taste of salt on his lips, though the shore lies leagues away. The Silmaril's call is clearer now, but so is the truth. The sea doesn't give up its secrets. It swallows them whole. Alone in the ruins, Elenion presses a hand to his chest, where the vision's fire still lingers. The Noglamir's curse was a warning, but also a gift. To reach the Silmaril, he'll need to face more than storms and tides. He'll need to confront the ghosts of those who sailed before him, and the price they paid for light. The salt spray stings Elenion's face as the ship lurches beneath him, its timbers groaning like a wounded beast. The crew's whispers had started days ago, superstitious mutterings about cursed voyages and drowned men. But when the first mate's knife presses against his ribs in the dead of night, the threat becomes real. "The Silmaril's not for the likes of you," the man hisses, breath reeking of stale grog. The deck tilts as the others seize their chance, tossing Elenion's belongings overboard before shoving him into the longboat with nothing but a canteen and the clothes on his back. Their laughter follows him across the black water, fading as the current drags him toward the jagged outline of an unnamed isle. Dawn reveals a spit of land, so barren it seems scraped raw by the sea itself. No trees, no fresh water, just wine-scoured rock and the bones of creatures that dared too much. Yet as Elenion staggers inland, a glimmer catches his eye, a fissure in the cliff face, so narrow it's nearly invisible. Inside, the cave walls pulse with an eerie bioluminescence, like drowned stars sewn into stone, and there, at its heart, a shaft of light pierces the gloom. Rivendell's star, or some trick of the heavens, striking a single spot on the cave floor with surgical precision. The air thrums. This is no accident. Kneeling, he brushes away centuries of dust to reveal a depression in the rock. A perfect cradle, not for a Silmaril, but for something smaller, humbler. A pearl, the size of a dove's egg, winks up at him, its surface alive with refracted starlight. It's not the jewel he sought, yet its radiance is undeniably kin, a whisper where the Silmaril was a shout. Elenion's breath catches. This is no mere trinket. It's a relic of the Teleri, perhaps, or some long-lost echo of the light itself. But the cave has other plans. A tremor shakes the ground as seawater surges through hidden channels, flooding the chamber in moments. The pearl gleams once more as the waves claim it, tumbling into the depths like a falling star. Elenion barely escapes, clawing his way back to the surface as the cave seals itself behind him. Gasping on the shore, he watches the last glimmer vanish beneath the waves, not with despair, but dawning understanding. The sea didn't steal the pearl, it welcomed it home. Some wonders aren't meant to be held. They're meant to remind us that light exists, even in the deepest dark. And sometimes, bearing witness is the only treasure we get to keep. Rivendell's evening air carries the scent of parchment and pine as Elenion kneels before Elrond in the Hall of Fire, his travel-worn journal spread open between them. The pages are a mosaic of sketches, pressed leaves from Lothlórien, smudged dwarven runes, copied in haste, each a fragment of the artifacts he chased across Middle-earth. Elrond's fingers trace a particular entry, the file of Galadriel, its delicate glass rendered in ink. "You've carried more than starlight in this vial," he murmurs, his voice weighted with the gravity of centuries. The light within is kin to the Silmarils, not an echo, but a shard of the same essence. The revelation strikes like a bell's toll. All this time, the answer wasn't buried in ruins or guarded by wraiths. It was in his satchel, humming softly against his side. Elrond lifts the file, and its glow paints silver streaks across the ancient tapestries. "The greatest relics are not trophies to possess," he says, turning it gently. "They are mirrors. They show us what we yearn for, and what that yearning costs." The words settle into Elenion's bones. He thinks of Thrain's clenched fists, Saruman's hollow eyes, the way the Arkenstone's radiance had made his own pulse quicken. The artifacts weren't just objects, they were tests, and the true treasure was the wisdom scraped raw from failing them. A rustle of fabric draws his attention to the far end of the hall, where young scribes hover near the archives, their faces alight with curiosity. Elrond follows his gaze. "They've listened to your tales at supper," he says, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "Stories of Gondolin's swords, the Noglamir's curse. To them, these are more than history. They're living warnings." The realization unfurls slowly. His journey isn't ending, it's transforming. The relic's power wasn't in their gold or magic, but in the lessons they carried, lessons that could outlast empires, if someone preserved them. By midnight, Elenion's quick scratches fill fresh parchment as he cross-references dwarven ballads with elven laments, piecing together the artifact's full sagas. The work is painstaking, but the weight of it feels right. Each stroke of ink is a shield against forgetfulness, a way to honor the fallen without repeating their hunger. The file rests beside him, its light steady, not a beacon to chase, but a lantern to work by, and as the first birdsong of dawn filters through the valley, he understands at last. Some lights aren't meant to be caught. They are meant to guide you home. The firelight catches the gold flecks in Lorien's eyes as she leans over Elenian's shoulder, her finger tracing the sketch of the Morgul blade in his journal. Her breath hitches not with fear, but with the restless energy of someone who's spent too many years copying histories instead of living them. They say its touch turns flesh to shadow, she murmurs, her voice trembling with something dangerously close to longing. Elenion's quill stills. He knows that tone. It's the same one he'd used when he first begged the Rivendell scholars for maps to Gondolin. He closes the journal with deliberate slowness, the snap of leather louder than necessary. Some wounds don't heal, Lorien, and some blades cut deeper than steel. The warning should be enough. It isn't. She straightens, her chin lifting in a way that makes her look suddenly older, her ink-stained hands curling into fists. You cross the dead marshes for a Palantir shard. You face Saruman's wrath over a dwarven necklace. Who decides what's too dangerous? The question hangs between them, sharp as the blade. They're debating. Elenion's throat tightens. He wants to argue, to list the corpses left in the Morgul blade's wake, the way its poison lingers like a rot in the soul. But the words crumble before they reach his lips. How many times had elders warned him with the same fervor? How often had he mistaken their caution for cowardice? The memory stings, Thrain's blood on his hands, the wraiths of a new Minas howling in his dreams. He rubs the old scar on his side, where the orc's blade had bitten deep. Dawn finds them at the gates of Rivendell, packs laden, not with weapons, but with parchments and potions, every countercharm Elenions learned in his years of chasing cursed relics. Lorien bounces on her toes, her eagerness barely contained. He grips her shoulder, forcing her to meet his gaze. We don't seek the blade, we seek its story. The moment you reach for it, we turn back. She nods, but her fingers stray to the silver dagger at her belt, a gift from some long ago ancestor. Elenion doesn't miss the way her thumb brushes the engraving, a habit of hers when she's nervous or determined. The road to Minas Morgul is paved with the bones of fools, but Elenion knows the true danger lies not in the blade itself, but in the hunger it ignites. As they descend into the valley's perpetual twilight, he watches Lorien's face in the sickly green glow. Her wonder is a mirror to his own recklessness, and for the first time, he understands the weight Elrond must have carried, watching him march headlong into ruin. The realization doesn't steady his pulse. If anything, it makes the dread coil tighter, because wisdom, he's learned, is rarely enough to stop a heart from wanting what it shouldn't. The ruins of Minas Morgul rise from the valley like the ribs of a long-dead beast, their pale stones glowing with the same sickly light that pulses from the Morgul blade's jagged edge. Lorien's hand drifts toward it, her fingers twitching not with fear, but with the scholar's instinct to touch, to know. The air around the weapon hums like a swarm of flies, thick with the whispers of those it's claimed. Elenion's grip closes around her wrist half a heartbeat before her skin meets the hilt, yanking her back so hard she stumbles. Look closer, he rasps, pointing to the ground where their shadows stretch unnaturally long, twisting as if trying to flee their own bodies. The blade isn't just a weapon, it's a wound in the world. Lorien's protest dies in her throat as the truth sinks in. The knife's malevolence seeps into the earth where it rests, staining the grass black in radiating tendrils. This close, its whispers coil into her mind, not words, but hunger, a craving to carve and claim. Elenion doesn't need to recount his scars or the nights he's woken gasping from dreams of Thrain's betrayal. The horror on her face says she understands now. Some relics aren't puzzles to solve. They are fires best left unsparked. The lead-lined box is a crude solution, but the moment the blade is sealed inside, the valley exhales. The oppressive weight lifting is so sudden, so visceral, that Lorien sags against a crumbled pillar, her breath ragged. Elenion's hands shake as he binds the box with silver wire, Galadriel's parting gift, its metal woven with spells of containment. They bury it deep beneath a cairn of river stones, each rock a mute sentinel against the darkness. As the last stone settles, something unclenches in Elenion's chest. The restless itch that drove him from Gondolin to Erebor, from Minas to the sea's edge, it's gone, not sated, but released. He'd spent years chasing artifacts, convinced their secrets would fill some hollow in him. But the hollow was never meant to be filled. It was meant to remind him that light exists because shadows do. Beside him, Lórien presses her palm to the cairn, not in longing, but in farewell. Some battles aren't fought with swords or spells. They're fought in the quiet moment, when you choose to walk away. The great hall of Minas Tirith smells of beeswax and anticipation, the air thick with the murmur of scholars and lords, gathered under banners that have seen too many wars. Elenion's tome rests on the marble pedestal like a sleeping dragon, its gilded edges catching the torchlight, its spine etched with runes that seem to shift when no one's looking. The crowd leans in as he opens it, revealing pages dense with sketches of Glamdring's hilt, the Noglamir's fractured clasp, even the faint tracery of Sauron's crown, its location scribbled as a riddle only a fool would chase. Applause ripples through the hall, but Elenion's smile is tight. He knows too well how knowledge can curdle into obsession. A draft stirs the candles near the archway. That's when he sees her, a woman in a cloak the color of forgotten graves, slipping into the shadows with a single page clutched in her gloved hand. The stolen leaf shows the crown's last known resting place, the tunnels beneath Dol Guldur, where the air itself is said to remember the Dark Lord's breath. Elenion's blood turns to ice. He moves to follow, but a grip like iron closes around his wrist. Not so fast, historian. The voice is familiar, rough with humor and old scars. It's Halbarad, the ranger who once pulled him from a collapsing ruin in Arnor, his grin as sharp as the dagger at his belt. Thought you'd retired from chasing ghosts, he mutters, nodding to two others at his flank, Lórien, her silver dagger now joined by a quiver of arrows, and a dwarf named Thror, whose beard is braided with charms meant to ward off shadow. They've been watching, waiting. While Elenion buried himself in ink, they've tracked whispers of a cult gathering in the east, their altars littered with shards of black iron and promises of a king's return. The stolen page isn't just a clue, it's a spark in a forest of dry kindling. Halbarad tosses Elenion a pack, already bulging with supplies. You wrote the book on doom, he says. Time to add a chapter. The road to Dol Guldur is choked with briars that claw at their cloaks like skeletal fingers. Lórien walks point, her steps silent, her eyes catching every broken branch, every footprint too fresh to belong to anything harmless. Thror sings under his breath, a dwarven lay about lost gold, but the melody twists in the gloom, becoming something darker. Elenion's fingers brush the file at his belt, its light muted, as if wary of what lies ahead. He thought his work would be a shield against the past. Now, with every mile, he feels the weight of his own words turning against him. The crown is more than metal. It's a symbol, a lodestone for every soul still sick with Sauron's poison. And the woman who stole his page, she's not a thief. She's a herald. Dol Guld, yours ruins loom at midnight, their broken towers clawing at a moon stained yellow. The cult's fires flicker below, their smoke reeking of charred flesh and old hate. Elenion crouches beside Halbarad, watching the robed figures chant over a pit where something glints. A circlet of blackened gold, its spikes twisted like talons. The woman stands at the edge, her hood thrown back to reveal eyes burning with fervor. She recites lines from Elenion's own book, her voice fervent. The crown remembers its master, she intones. And the master remembers his throne. Lórien knocks an arrow. Thror's axe whispers free of its sheath. But Elenion hesitates. This isn't just a fight for an artifact. It's a reckoning with the truth he's spent years avoiding, that some evils don't stay buried. They wait, and the moment someone dares to speak their name, they wake. The heat in Mount Doom's belly is a living thing, clawing at Elenion's lungs with every breath as he stumbles over blackened rock. The cultist's robes flutter like vultures' wings ahead, her arms raised toward the chasm where molten fire churns. The crown gleams in her grip, not gold now, but something darker, its spikes twitching as if sensing the nearness of its birthplace. Lórien's gasp is lost in the roar of the mountain as the cultist begins to chant, her voice threading through the sulphurous air like a needle drawing poison into the world. Elenion doesn't think, he lunges. Their collision sends the crown skittering across the obsidian ledge, its hollow chime a mockery of the doom it carries. The cultist snarls, her fingers raking his face, but his grip on her wrist is iron. He's fought wraiths and dwarves and his own hunger for these relics. The zealot is just another shadow to outlast. Then the ground shudders. A gout of lava erupts nearby, splattering the rock with liquid fire. In the hellish glow, he sees the truth in the woman's eyes. She isn't afraid of the mountain. She welcomes it. Lórien's voice rises above the chaos, clear as a bell tolling midnight. The file of Galadriel flares in her hands, its light a blade slicing through the gloom. The cultist shrieks, recoiling as if struck, and for one heartbeat, she's blind. Elenion wrenches free, his boots sliding on sweat-slick stone as he dives for the crown. The metal sears his palms, its heat beyond fire, beyond pain. It whispers to him, not in words, but in visions. Armies kneeling, cities burning, a throne carved from the bones of the world. The ledge cracks beneath him. Lórien's cry is raw with warning as the rock tilts, sending them both scrambling backward. There's no time for ceremony, no grand speech. Elenion meets her eyes just once and hurls the crown into the abyss. The mountain howls. The molten tide surges upward, swallowing the artifact in a single, ravenous gulp. The air shimmers with released power. A shockwave of silence before the cultist's wail splits the darkness. She doesn't curse them. She mourns. Her knees hit the rock as the crown melts, her chant dissolving into sobs. The fire's glow licks her face, etching every line of her grief. Lórien's hand finds Elenion's shoulder, her fingers trembling but firm. They don't speak. There are no words for this moment, for the weight of what they've unmade. The crown is gone, but its lesson lingers in the scorch marks on Elenion's hands, in the way Lórien's breath steadies beside him. Some relics aren't meant to be wielded. Some fires exist only to be quenched. And as the first cool breeze snakes through the cavern, carrying the scent of rain from the world above, they turn toward it, not as victors, but as witnesses. The mountain's wrath is spent. The sky, when they find it, is streaked with dawn. The fire in Rivendell's library crackles low, casting dancing shadows across the pages of Elenion's nearly finished tome. His quill hovers over the final blank space, ink glistening like a star about to fall. Across the table, Lórien's own work sprawls in chaotic brilliance, sketches of artifacts they've seen, and some they've only dreamed of, each margin crammed with notes in her looping script. She glances up, her fingers smudged with charcoal and ink, and for a moment, they share a silence thicker than any spell. The weight of it all settles between them, not just the relics they've chased, or the dangers they've faced, but the quiet understanding that these stories aren't theirs to keep. They're embers to pass on, lest the next generation burn themselves learning what's already been paid for in blood. Elenion's quill finally touches parchment. The last lines flow not as warnings, but as whispers, words meant to guide, not frighten. He writes of the file's light, how it had steadied his hand in Dol Guldur's depths, of the Arkenstone's gleam, and how its radiance had nearly cost him his soul. Even the Morgul blade's curse finds its place, not as a tale of horror, but as a reminder that some shadows are best faced with others at your side. The ink dries slowly, as if the pages themselves are reluctant to let go. Outside, the first snow of winter dusts the valley, muffling the world in stillness. Lórien blows on her parchment, scattering flecks of charcoal like fallen stars. They'll call it a history, she muses, tracing the outline of Glamdring's hilt. But it's really a map, isn't it? Just not the kind you follow with your feet. Elenion leans back, his spine protesting after hours hunched over the desk. The firelight catches the silver threading through his hair, a change he hadn't noticed until now. Time moves differently when you're chasing eternity. A knock startles them both. A young scribe hovers in the doorway, her arms laden with fresh parchment and a look of hungry curiosity. The scholars in Minas Tirith sent word, she says. They've found something. Her voice drops, tinged with awe. A cup. They think it might be. Lórien's laughter cuts her off, bright and unexpected. She tosses her quill onto the table, where it rolls to a stop against Elenion's tome. Let me guess, she says, grinning. It glows. The scribe blinks, confused, but Elenion understands. He closes the book with a soft thud, his palm resting on the cover. Some quests end, others simply change hands. The snow falls heavier now, blanketing the paths they've walked and the ones still waiting. Somewhere beyond the valley, a new story begins, but for tonight, the fire is warm, the ink is dry, and the relics sleep where they belong. Not in vaults or tombs, but in the spaces between words, where wisdom outshines gold.